Today's lesson is Module 3, Lesson 18, Distance on the Coordinate Plane. And today we're going to practice finding the distance between 2 points on the coordinate plane and to be able to identify which direction those points go. Are they going horizontally or vertically? And doing this, we're going to practice without even using a coordinate plane. So I have gone ahead and started the notes. So it says to find the distance between two numbers on opposite sides of 0, add the absolute value of the two numbers. And this doesn't matter if the points run vertically or horizontally at this point. So for example, if your coordinates are -4, 0, actually let's make it -4, 1. I don't want to confuse anyone. And 5, 1. The first thing I need to remember is my first number is my X number, my second number is my Y number. So I'm just going to write that little note in there for you to remember. So what I want to do is find the values that are different. So I can see that my two Y numbers are the same. So these two are different. So I'm going to circle those. And it says for me to use the absolute value of those numbers. So I'm going to have the absolute value of -4 plus, because remember I'm going to add them together, the absolute value of 5. So I'm going to rewrite that. The absolute value of -4 is 4. The absolute value of 5 is 5. So 4 plus 5 equals 9. So the distance is 9 units. That's my answer. Now I'm going to show you how you find the distance between 2 points that are on the same side of 0. To find the distance between two numbers on the same side of 0, subtract the absolute value of the two numbers. So for example, if I have -6, 2 and -12, 2, then the first thing I'm going to do is look for my two numbers that match. Remember, this is my X, this is my Y. And ladies and gentlemen, it can sometimes be your Y's that don't match. Sometimes it'll be your X's that don't match. But something will have to match for this strategy to work. So I can see that it's 12 and 6. And so I'm going to have the absolute value of -12 minus the absolute value of 6. Because for this purpose, I want to go with the bigger number. I'm sorry, that was -6. And I know that they're on the same side of 0 because they both have the same sign. These two I knew were on opposite sides of 0 because they don't have the same sign. So then the absolute value of 12 is 12. The absolute value of 6 is 6. So my answer is 6. the distance is 6 units. Now, typically I would tell you you can't reverse the order of a problem, but for this one, because we're just finding the distance between 2 points, you would have to do that. Okay, we're going to go on, and this part of the notes is going to tell how you would know which direction these points are running. If they're running vertically up and down or horizontally left and right. So the numbers in the 2 coordinates that are different indicate the direction the 2 points run on an axis. If the 2 different coordinates are x coordinates, the points are horizontal. If the 2 different coordinates are the y coordinates, the points are vertical. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and get out your student book, and we are on lesson 18, distance on the coordinate plane. And in this opening exercise, it says 4 friends are touring on motorcycles. They come to an intersection of 2 roads. Remember, intersection is where roads cross. They come to an intersection of 2 roads. The road they are on continues straight, and the other is perpendicular to it. The sign at the intersection shows the distance to several towns. Draw a map or diagram of the roads and use this information in the sign to answer the following questions. So if I make my map this way, if I look over here, it tells me Albertsville is 8 miles this direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This would be Albertsville. Blossville is 3 miles up, so 1, 2, 3. This is Blossville. Cheyenne is 12 up, so I'm going to pretend that I'm counting 12 up, and I'm just going to put the number 12 beside that so that I remember. Cheyenne is 12 up. And Dewey Falls is 6 miles this way. So what they want to know is, what's the distance between Albertsville and Dewey Falls? So you can see that they're on opposite sides of 0. So that means we're going to add opposite sides of 0, add. So the absolute value of 8 plus the absolute, I'm sorry, that would be negative 8 because it's to the left of 0, and the absolute value of 6. So 8 plus 6 equals 14. So 14 miles is the answer. Let's go to the next one. What's the distance between Blossville and Cheyenne? They're on the same side of 0, so this time I subtract. So we say same side of 0, subtract. So the absolute value of 12 minus the absolute value of 6. So 12 minus 6 equals 6. So I say 6 miles. On the coordinate plane, what represents the intersection of the two roads? So where the two places touch, remember we call this the origin. The origin. Oh, I guess you should be able to read that. Okay, let's go on to example 1. So for example 1, we're going to do basically what we did in our notes today. So it says, consider these 2 points. What do the ordered pairs have in common? So I can see in these ordered pairs, the y-coordinate is the same. So if the y-coordinate is 0, if the y-coordinate is 0, if the y-coordinate is 0, then the points are on the x-axis. And I guess we don't have to include that. How did we find the distance between the two numbers on the number line? We find the absolute, or I'm sorry. We can see that these two numbers have opposite signs, so we're going to add the absolute value of the x coordinates. So we're going to do that now. The absolute value of -4 plus the absolute value of 5. So that's 4 plus 5, which equals 9. And remember, I put units. So the distance is 9 units. Now we're going to go ahead to the next example. In this example, it says consider these points here. What do these ordered pairs have in common? The x coordinates are the same. So if the y coordinates, or I'm sorry, if any coordinates, sorry, if the coordinates are on the same side of 0, then subtract the different coordinates. So on this one, my different coordinates are -6 and -11. So the absolute value of -11 minus the absolute value of -6, which is 11 minus 6. And I know that that's 5. And then I add the word units. Please remember that you can pause or stop this video at any time. Feel free to rewind it back if there's any point that I'm going too fast or something that you feel like you want to hear again. In example 3, it says consider these points, -3 and 3 and -3 and -5. What do the endpoints which are represented in the ordered pairs have in common? So x coordinates are the same. So what that tells us is the points are vertical because the y coordinates are different. So now they want us to find the distance between these points. So my 2 points that are different are 3 and -5. They're on the opposite side of 0, so that means I add. So the absolute value of 3 plus the absolute value of -5 is the same as 3 plus 5, and that equals 8 units. So now we're going to go on into the exercises, and we're going to work through a couple, and then I'm going to give you today's assignment. So in exercise A, it says find the length of the line segments and then explain if they are vertical or horizontal. So I look at my first ones. I see that 4 and 9 are my different coordinates. Because they both share the same sign, I know I'm going to subtract. So the absolute value of 9 minus the absolute value of 4. So 9 minus 4 equals 5. So it's 5 units. And because my y coordinates are the coordinates I'm working with, it is vertical. In B, I can see that my y coordinates are the same. My x coordinates are what's different. And because they have different signs, I know I'm going to add. So the absolute value of 2 plus the absolute value of -8, which is 2 plus 8 equals 10. So it's 10 units. And since it's my x coordinates that I was using, I know that it is horizontal. I want you to try C, D, and E on your own, and then come back and check. Go ahead and check your answers. For C, you should have had 7 units in vertical. For D, you should have had 5 units in horizontal. For E, you should have had 19 units in vertical. Today's assignment, you are going to be practicing those same things. For the exit ticket, you are going to find the distance between the points and then tell if it is vertical or horizontal. So that's exactly like what we just practiced in the exercises. And then in the problem set, you're going to, for number 1, find the distance between the points and then explain how you know how to do that. So again, those are right there in your notes. You can write that out exactly from your notes. For number 2, you're going to need to use this coordinate plane, and also for number 3, you're going to need to use this coordinate plane. I changed some of the numbers so that they would work in this coordinate plane. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and let me know.